You know that feeling when you're reading and the whole world just completely disappears? That's immersion. When you are pulled so deep into that fictional world, anything outside the fictional world stops existing. I bet you've had this happen too. You know you need to go to bed or get started for the day, and you flip forward a few pages and you see those nice short lines of dialogue and you think, I can do a few more pages. That's not by accident. In this video, I'm going to hit you with the most common reasons why dialogue falls flat, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot problematic dialogue in your own manuscript, and you'll know how to revise accordingly to make sure immersion is never broken by your dialogue. We all know as writers that dialogue is one of the best tools we have to propel our readers forward. It can draw them in deeper than description, deeper than exposition, until it breaks immersion. Yes, guys, unfortunately, there is such a thing as bad dialogue. Good dialogue will pull a reader in deeper and deeper into a book. Bad dialogue will pull a reader out of your book. When dialogue breaks immersion, a reader is not necessarily going to know that's what happened. All they know is suddenly the book feels a little distant to them, or they're bored, or something just feels off. Problem number one, generic dialogue. By generic dialogue, I mean dialogue that could be spoken by absolutely any person in this book. I mean, grab your manuscript, find a page that's dialogue heavy, strip away all the names and the dialogue tags, any reference to who is saying what, and read that dialogue back to yourself. Can you still identify who is saying what just through the word choice, just by the words each character is choosing to use in their unique phrasing? If not, if there is no unique phrasing, then your characters' voices are beginning to blend together. Dialogue problem number two, characters sound like the writer. We've all been guilty of this, right? We insert pieces of ourselves in the dialogue of our characters, right? And we can have sentences that are technically perfect. We can have, wise statements coming through our characters. We can have poetic turns of phrases. But if that doesn't sound like that character, it shouldn't be there. Good dialogue helps you create a portrait of who each character is, right? Each character is going to lean on different phrases. They're going to have different words that they will use to describe what's going on around them. You can have two different characters have the same idea, but they are going to express it differently in dialogue. When each character has their own sort of unique verbal thumbprint, your readers don't have to continue to orient themselves in the story, they just stay immersed in it. This is where you really want to dig deep with your characters and figure out who they are. How old are they? Where did they grow up? How much formal education did they have? Again, we're all writers, we're all bookish people. A lot of us have been through college. But if your character hasn't, they can have the same observation about life and be very wise, but not express it in the way that a college professor would. Okay, so how do we begin to go about fixing bad dialogue? We know we want our characters to sound like themselves, not like each other and not like us. So how do we begin to go about fixing this? We can see here already we need to assign certain phrases and certain word choices to different characters. That's going to help. But what are some other things we can do here to fix dialogue? First thing we can do is add subtext. Okay, so what do I mean by subtext? What does that even mean, right? It means subtext is the emotion underneath a line of dialogue. It's what the character is trying not to say. And, we can see this in our own lives. Say we're having an argument, right? We would never come right out and say exactly what we mean all the time. We would never come out and say, I am angry with you, Sarah, for betraying my trust. That's never how that comes out, right? We're in the midst of an argument with Sarah. And what do we tell her? We say, fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Meanwhile, our jaw is clenched and we are just slamming every single cabinet in the kitchen, right? That's the kind of thing you can put in the dialogue in your own book. It infuses that book with authenticity, but it also is going to just really ramp up the tension. Another thing we can do is add some show, don't tell in our dialogue. We hear this all the time as writers, right? Show, don't tell, depict something, don't just summarize it. Our characters in bad dialogue can be telling instead of showing too. So we can fix that by focusing on the show rather than the tell. Say we've got, again, Sarah. We've got our character Sarah, and she's getting ready for a date. We've got a scene where she comes in the room and she doesn't say, I am incredibly nervous about this date. That would be just telling us, I am incredibly nervous about this date. No, she comes in the room and she says, I don't know about this shirt. Is this shirt too much? Does it not go with the skirt? You know, how is this looking? And now, you know, we're getting from her uncertainty about how she looks. We're getting a really good portrait of just how nervous she is. We are shown how nervous she is. She's not telling us how nervous she is. I'm calling this last tip internal voice consistency. That's kind of a fancy way to say make sure the narration matches the dialogue. You know, if your main character is narrating this, you've got a first person or even a third limited point of view, and they are narrating this entire book, your reader is going to hear their voice in every line on every single page. Make sure when they are speaking that their speaking voice matches that internal voice they've been hearing throughout the entire manuscript. When those two things do not match up, that can be really jarring for the reader, and it can pull them right out. So whoever that person is, whatever that voice is that's telling the story all the way through, make sure they are still there in dialogue as well. Here's an easy dialogue revision exercise. Grab your work in progress, find a dialogue heavy section, and ask yourself these questions. Could any character say this? Do these characters sound distinct from one another? Do these characters sound like me? What's the emotion underneath this dialogue? What isn't being said? And finally, does my narrator sound like themselves? If that was helpful, like and subscribe for more writing tips. In the meantime, go write something. Could any character say this? Do these characters sound distinct from one another?